Good morning from London News on the 4th of July, 2020. We're heading across to Pennsylvania in the United States to have a chat with Michael David. Michael is a part-time army stuff, and he keeps his finger on the pulse a little bit. So let's cross over and have a chat with Michael on Zoom this morning and see how things are going. It's nighttime with him, and so it's early in the evening, so he's well and truly awake, I hope. Anyway, this is London News. Thanks for watching, guys. Keep subscribing and keep an eye on this place for the common law court information. We'll be starting our first court case in Melbourne in the next few weeks with a bit of luck. Paperwork has already been put together for a couple of cases. Small cases like traffic and fines, which of course are private companies, which is now owned by an individual, not the corporation anymore. Anyway, keep an eye on this space, as they say. Bye for now, and thanks for watching. Cheers. Love News, Melbourne, talking to David Michael in Pennsylvania, live around the world to get a little bit of an impression of what's happening over there. So, Michael, welcome to Australia. It's a cool morning here in the winter, but some days we have 20 degrees in the winter, but not today. So, in Pennsylvania, how is things over there, and how are you coping with this imaginary or real disease floating around? It hasn't caught up with you yet, has it?
No, it hasn't caught up. You know, I thought I seen it poking out from the tree the other day. I grabbed my rifle while I went and looked, and it wasn't there. You know, little hunting. You know, the mysterious disease that doesn't exist. You know, you can't catch a virus through the air. As soon as it hits oxygen, it's dead. And it's only transmittable through direct injection into your blood. So,
yes, well, I think I'm on the same side as that. But everybody's entitled to their opinion. You see, we got to keep these imaginary politicians, which are basically corporations, fighting and trying to outnumber each other. So basically, you've designed a new ID. So especially in the States and anywhere in the world, to create your own identity is obviously a very, very important idea. What have you done there, and what's the, as they say here, what's the go on the IDs?
You know, as you know, anyone that admits to being the name on their birth certificate, you know, that corporate document, basically you're a combatant when you say you're that name. And if you have a social security number here, or, you know, whatever type of federal style ID number you have there, that makes you an enemy combatant. You're using money, money that's private military script for internal use only. You know, the fiction money, not gold or silver. And you're not that person. That person that is on that birth certificate and your typical driver's license is owned by the state.
So in other words, well, that's a word I avoid with the plague, is person, because even if the silly people look up Google and type in a person at law, it means a deceased estate at law, which means with the surname, you're a dead entity. So if you identify with a dead entity, you'll pay the bills. So by making an ID, removing yourself from that fiction, you're going to save yourself a lot of hassle. But that word person should be outlawed. It should be a swear word, and every time you use it, you put, I think, $50 in the swear box. How about that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's that surname that makes you the corporation, not the all caps writing everybody thinks. It's the surname. You know, since the 400s, it was created to make you a debtor and a corporation.
So people really, you only got your given names. So if your name is John Michael Doe, so you don't have to disown your family name, but just ignore when you get your all the bills coming in capital letters, they're actually talking to the deceased estate. They're not actually talking to John Michael, the Doe part. So it's, if you look, we just got to get rid of that word person. And I sent a letter to my favorite newsman over there, Tucker Carlson, because he continues to use the word person. I haven't heard back yet, but I hope he gets the message.
Maybe I'll get the hint.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's supposed to claim their office open. There's with the trust code. When you become the age of the majority, you're supposed to take control of your office of ultimate beneficial owner, the UBO. And no one's done that. You know, I'm working with some people now where a lady has introduced that to me and looking at all the trust laws. And that's one thing you have to do is you're supposed to do UBO paperwork, and they can't communicate with the skin. And for you to get anywhere, you need to communicate with them through your office.
And when you say office, what does it actually mean in reality? Is that the corporation or you as a living man talking to them when you say office?
You as the living man opening your office of UBO, ultimate beneficial owner. And when you communicate back and forth with them, everything is from that, coming from that office in reference to that name trust that they're trying to contract with. And when it comes to the stuff with the trust, they have a habit of assuming roles of executors and stuff like that, and you know, behind your back and without consent. And when that happens, the trust collapses because there's been a mistrust there.
Right. Yeah, you've done a good ID up. You've made one that makes you like the marshal on behalf of the United States Constitution, which is very important. Our Constitution was removed here by an act of 1986, and we become an unlawful republic. Well, that's a long story, but the states happened in 1871 when the United States, by the Bar Association, all these liars are the enemy of the people, like word person, they should be removed as well from the vocabulary. So your idea is on behalf of your Constitution, is that correct?
Yeah, the original Constitution for the United States of America, of North America. There is no such thing as the United States of America. That's a fiction.
Oh.
It is the United States of North America. I don't have my one book here, it's in the truck, but I got my American Citizens Manual of Reference. The actual title of the country is the United States of North America and the several states and territories.
All right. Yes.
Like I used to teach people early on, you know, about, well, if the United States of America, well, where's America? It's right here. No, these are all states, independent nations in North America. Where is America? So I started correcting people about a year ago on it's really the United States of North America. And then it wasn't until later on where I seen it in my American Citizens Manual of Reference where it says United States of North America right there. It was printed in 1840.
All right. That's interesting.
As far as your Constitution, like you said, it was removed or suspended by an act from the corporation. Well, they can't suspend your Constitution.
I know
your Constitution's still there somehow, but they're just pretending like it isn't. It can't take away something that's made to keep the corporation at bay.
It's amazing, you know, they have royal commissions here in Australia and we have no queen. So the queen representatives visit here and they have the people don't know. You see, the people love the visit of the queen and all the people are out there chewing and booing and hello and everybody's very, very happy. But the actual fact, the politicians, the whole country is a corporation, the federal government is a corporation, the states are corporations, and the states have actually gone rogue here. They're totally ignoring the federal government. Or government corporation, right? That's another word that should be removed. Another square word is government. So the same thing has happened here. But the states, I think basically the enemy of the American Constitution itself would be the Bar Association. They're the ones that wants to get into politics, and the same thing happens here. They destroy the country.
Correct. And the bar is not even supposed to be here or hold any public office. It's a violation of Article 13 in the Constitution for the United States of America.
So
the titles of nobility they hid from everyone learning in school. You know, they taught people some of the 1870, the corporate constitution, but you never were taught the de jure one, which I have most of that in that American Citizens Manual of Reference. It has the original Article 13 right there.
Right. Now they have described, they are the enemy of the people, the Bar Association. Obviously there are a couple of decent solicitors and barristers around this. There's always good people in a rotten barrel, but they're surrounded by the corrupt ones. And we have the same problem here. They have destroyed this country, and when Gough Whitlam became Prime Minister here, he got rid of the first part of the Queen, but he was caught by the last real Governor General, and he sacked him. And then, of course, Bob Hawke got in and been another lawyer. They're all lawyers. And then he changed the constitution. He lied to the British Parliament. So we have a republic. Australia is a republic, and that's why we have citizenship. Citizenship only belongs to a republic, which America is, and Ireland is a republic as well. So what's your right? How do you produce an ID? So that gets you. Do you use that ID to get you out of idiotic control? Yeah, it's going to have holes in it. So show it up if you like.
Yeah, it's going to have, with this blue screen doesn't work too well.
Yeah.
I have the QR code block on there and everything now I use on my identifications.
Yeah.
And, you know, my flag is, I may not use my surname, but I have the family flag of the surname there, but I don't list the surname. I don't give them anything on here to connect them to that.
Yeah.
Just the birth certificate number, which leads to your identity. But on here, I'm stated as a non-combatant peaceful being. You won't find the word sovereign on there, but you will find the word souverain.
Wow.
Are you familiar with souverain?
No, explain.
Well, when you're a sovereign, souverain, they've been hiding from you. They've been hiding that word from you in the dictionaries. If you plug it in, type a Word document, it'll underline it thinking it's the wrong spelling of a word, but look it up and you'll find out what it means in Wikipedia. But a sovereign would have your own money, a standing army, and stuff like that, a king. A souverain is with God or of God without the standing army and the money and stuff like that. It's above a sovereign. And they've hid that word from, you know, from everyone learning it. I recently learned it on a video I watched the other day and then looked it up. I'm like, oh, what do you know? It's SUVERAN.
All right.
If anyone wants to look that up, you know, they always have the terrorist group. They talk about sovereign citizens. They made up that terrorist group. Well, if you're claiming souverain, then you're not even using the word sovereign.
I have to look that one up. That's an interesting one because, yeah, sovereign is a word which has been banded around a little bit. Yeah, I looked that up. Yeah, we've done IDs here for people that got themselves out of the fictional world, if you like, and it does work. And it's amazing the amount of a lot of people know about it, but when it comes to actually doing it, they don't do it. You know, it's pretty sad. The whole world is. But there again, if you look back in history, I mean, the governments used to get wars going. So our fathers and grandfathers had a harder time because they had wars. They went off on phony wars, which were backed and supported by the rich and powerful on both sides, and they all made money out of it. So now they've changed their tactic because they really can't get wars going anymore because nobody wants to fight them. So this is, yeah. What's your opinion on that one?
Well, no one wanted to fight the wars in the first place. You know, like, you know, with Hitler, it was actually, you know, people think it's like Germany attacking everybody when England started the war with them because they were jealous of their commerce and stuff like that. And Hitler was actually trying to kill off all the Jewish bankers because he, you know, in kind of like what Kennedy wanted to do is get rid of the Federal Reserve. Well, Hitler was trying to do it in a different way. But yeah, every war is a war game. You know, the world wars have been on a schedule on one old document, World War I, World War II, and World War III, which we're in the middle of now, which is a different type of war, was all on a schedule.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They've been planning this for years. I mean, this hasn't hasn't cropped up. So usually 3 or 4 years ahead of what happens now was planned 3 or 4 years ago. That's pretty evident.
Yeah. What amazing thing now that, now that no one's kids have been going to the doctors and getting vaccines and stuff, the childhood deaths have had a reduction of 30% now. We have a lot more children living.
I know.
Isn't that amazing?
Oh, it is. It's amazing. I remember when I'm 74, and as a kid growing up in the country, and I've traveled, lived in different parts of the world, autism and all these things didn't exist. So I have a good friend, doctor here, who actually puts it right down to the injections for anti-polio and stuff and all these things that actually created autism. And it's amazing. I was watching a documentary on the Tudors where Prince Henry, or King Henry, when he was married to Anne Boleyn, they had this, in Europe, they had the sweating disease, which was just influenza. And of course, they had separation then, and they had the palaces had all the people kept out. They weren't allowed in, and they had social distancing for a while as well. But everybody got that influenza pretty bad. If they were healthy-ish, they got over it. And it's only people who had respiratory problems in the beginning, and sadly they died. But it just disappeared after a couple of years because we built up what's known as an immune system, which a lot of people have forgotten about. So this is what's happening now, and we've got to be careful what we say because we're watched by people with an agenda which is much more powerful than ours. But you think common sense would suggest if you're exhaling carbon monoxide, dioxide, carbon, whatever you want to call it, and you're re-inhaling it again, can't be very healthy. So your immune system is suffering for a start. So, and then you see idiots out jogging with masks on, and they collapse sometimes. So we're in a world, nothing's changed way back. Nothing's changed. It's always been a power struggle from way back since, if you believe in Adam and Eve, obviously you believe in the tooth fairy, but that's another story.
Well, with the mask, it's severely toxic to breathe in your own breath. The OSHA, has a machine where you measured oxygen that you're breathing in, and they did tests under the mask, and that shows it gets down into the 0.7 something, and the thing beeps like crazy, and you should not be wearing a mask. It's only being done to lower your immune system.
Yeah, and it's amazing. Did you see that movie They Live? Was made in 1987, 86, 87, where when they put the glasses on, they could see, obey, buy this, purchase this, watch TV. And the same thing applies to people. And it's amazing, the more educated some people are, including doctors, the more brainwashed they are, and you cannot get that message across that they're actually harming themselves. But that's another story. But in the meantime, we'll have to kick on and hope that people wake up to the fact that they've been hoodwinked by all aspects of governments, which really are corporations. And I hope that Donald Trump wins he's not outed by false means. Now they want postal votes. I think that's what they're looking for. The Democrats want, and of course, postal votes. We had them here for a referendum, which was totally unlawful and criminal and fraud. Yeah. So what happens with the postal votes over there? Do you reckon that'll go ahead, or will they have IDs for the voting?
Well, he's trying not to have that go through. But who knows what they'll pull off. It depends on how many Democrats you have, who's in the House, and they're going to do whatever they can to get what they want.
I know. And this left and right wing, I mean, it goes back to the revolution in France. So basically after that, they had a revolution, of course, in France, and they had anarchy there because the next door neighbor was saying they're royalists and they got their head chopped off by Mr. Dr. Guillotine's machine, and that carried on for years. It was like it's actually happening now, pulling statues down. It was the same thing. And then Napoleon became leader of the country, and things settled down for a while, and of course then we had a dictator. So it's revolution. It's just basically it's the same system revolving around, and we don't seem to learn from it. But people have YouTube and Facebook, thank God now, and they should be able to make decisions for themselves. But to get them to learn anything that doesn't suit their ideals, it's very hard.
Yeah, and the United States, the way the president works, he receives orders through a chain. Yeah, the Morgan Guarantee and Trust Bank on Wall Street, they relay the order to the Secretary of State, which is picked by the Club of 300 and the Club of Rome.
Yeah, Club of Rome.
And then that person relays the order to the president. And the whole country is run, it's still run by the descendants of the East Indian Trading Company. That's why the Title IV American flag looks the way it does, with the 13 horizontal stripes. But it's really the flag for the East Indian Trading Company with just a star field, just meaning basically the district of the United States, part of their operation. People don't know that this flag here was the one implemented by George Washington in 1791. And it was suspended twice for wars, but that's been the real American flag. And people do not know about it. They just go by the East Indian Trading Company flag, which is not only East Indian Trading Company, but it's a military flag. It's military authority, and there's no constitution with that. So you go into court waving that flag, claim your constitutional rights. While you're waving that flag, you don't have any. You have to wave this flag around if you want to claim protection with the Constitution.
It's strange because our flag here, believe it or not, is red, and our corporations changed that without a referendum and to a blue flag. I must admit the blue looks nicer than the red, but it is a nicer color.
Red means death and destruction, so the blue is maritime.
Yeah. I must admit it looks nicer, but the red flag is the true flag of Australia, and we have them on the IDs, which we do here now, is are red with the red flag in the background. But of course, if you took that into a courthouse, you'd need 5 flags on 5 different levels, because as you know, the judge sits up on the top level in a box that he can't hear, he cannot see, and he's blind, and the jury sit in a box as well, and the witness box, yeah. It's all box, and anything in the box doesn't relate to the people outside the box. So if people just woke up to the fact how they've been hoodwinked, and to wake them up, now, there are people waking up. And I find most people now that want to change things were born in the 60s, and from then back, from the 70s back, perhaps. But most people in the 60s, was the first lot of your life, you're growing up at school. Then the next thing is sex and love is on your mind, and then for the next 30 years, you're paying for it. So when you're around 50 years old, you realize your kids are growing up. You've been hoodwinked for the last 50 years, and you start waking up to the fact that something's not quite right. So it's the same around the world. So we're all the same. We're all in the same boat, and we're all slaves to the rich and powerful, which has been going on for thousands of years. I mean, you've only got to watch old movies. There's always them and us sort of thing, right? So anyway, David, looks, it's been fantastic talking to you in Pennsylvania originally, isn't it?
Yep, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. What's the weather like? Where are you now again?
In Stillwater, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Stillwater, Pennsylvania. So what's the weather like there at the moment? You're in the summer.
It was about 90 today.
90, yeah.
90, yeah.
In the old Fahrenheit, yeah, that's the 70s.
It's about 70 now.
Yeah, good.
10 o'clock at night.
Oh, right. Well, it's 12 o'clock morning here in Australia. Well, anyway, David, listen, fantastic talking to you. Look, we'll catch up again, and thanks for the information from the USA, and I hope everything works out over there for you, and we'll talk again soon. Take care of yourself, and bye for now.
You too, absolutely.
This is a copy of the identification. This ID card covers everything that's necessary for identifying yourself You just simply send me a photo. I will put in the name, the given names. Your surname, which you will see is in brackets, like John Michael Doe in brackets. So I need your surname, your correct address, which is necessary for an ID, obviously. And then I will send this out to you by registered post. And the barcode obviously is here. It will be recorded on all your documents from then on. On the back of the ID, you will have this. I will print your name here in the correct, like John Michael. The surname is no longer there required. And this is all lawful under the Immigration Act. This can actually act as a substitute for a passport should you have lost it on the way into the airport or back into Australia. Now, the basic information is required, as you've just seen, right? Head and shoulders. If you have a family crest, by all means send it, but it's not necessary. And as I said before, I will send this out to you in a registered envelope with the barcode on it, registered mail. A copy will be sent to you, obviously, first for your approval. Make sure there's no errors. This is not a business. I am trying to recuperate monies I put into the machine, which was quite over $3,000. And if I would be grateful if you would send this as a donation